Hey everyone, Marcus Lopez here, and welcome to another episode of Black Sweater Talk. Today on this podcast, I want to tell you a story. Some of you may have heard it before or heard parts of it. It is my story of my journey to becoming a writer. I didn't always know I wanted to be a writer, and that's because when I was growing up, I spent all my time at the piano. My parents often told the story that when I was 3, I started dabbling with one of my father's keyboards. I showed a lot more progress at age 5, and by age 6, I was taking weekly piano lessons, which continued for me up until the end of high school. I had the same teacher for 9 years. I went to her every Tuesday afternoon, Mrs. Shute, and the only reason why I stopped going was because she said she had nothing else to teach me and that I needed to be with another professor who could teach me more. And during that time, especially I think in junior high was when I really started writing. Loved writing stories. Wasn't a big reader in my youth until I discovered Gordon Korman and his books like No Coins Please and MacDonald Hall. He, I can say, is the first author who inspired me, who awakened that curiosity for words, that curiosity for telling stories. But it wasn't something that I consciously explored because growing up, the arts were kind of a mystery. It wasn't really encouraged to pursue a life in the arts because of how volatile it could be. Lots of stories were told about the starving artist, how, musicians or writers or painters were, drug addicts or alcoholics. So it was the stereotypical and the kind of negative perspective of being an artist that was often told to me. No one told me about, Toni Morrison or Maya Angelou. No one talked about Iris Murdoch or Stephen King. Those weren't examples given to me. So I went through my youth, more or less doing what I was told to do because I had bought into the fear. I had bought into the fear that I couldn't succeed as a writer or possibly as a pianist because it was more accepted and more secure and safe to join the 9-to-5, to get that steady job, to settle down, buy a house, have that picket fence, and live the life that everyone else was leading. Well, let me tell you this. I was not someone who played by the rules. I was not someone who followed the rules. I was someone who liked to break the rules. It was when I was in university that I was willing to take a few more risks in terms of when it came to writing. I used to spend most of my time writing. And when it came to actually writing my research papers or studying for exams, those things were always done at the last minute because it wasn't what I was interested in the most passionate of ways. I went to France, I discovered Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, Simone de Beauvoir, and so many other authors and philosophers, Flaubert. And there was something in their prose, something in their way of thinking that inspired me, that opened me up to a new world, a new way of thinking. And I think that year in France for me helped me to really step into who I was, or who I thought I could be, or who I dreamed of becoming. And when I came back to Canada, I went straight into culture shock because I felt like a fish out of water. I was looking at these North Americans, looking at my friends, looking at my family, and asking myself, who are you? what are you doing? And what am I doing here with you? Because we were just, it seemed like, on different paths. And I knew that my path and the road that I wanted to take was going to cause conflict because of who I wanted to be was not the image that other people had of me. And it's not who they saw me becoming. And I was young, I was impressionable, so what did I do? I did what so many people do in life. I buckled. I got my degree. I ended up getting a degree in French literature because I was studying journalism and I hated it. And I went on to move to Ottawa. I did some temporary work for a year and a half before landing a job in the public civil service, and there I was working that 9-to-5 grind and hating it. And anytime I could, I would write. Writing became really escapism for me. It was my way to be who I wanted to be, express myself, but at the same time, I didn't share my writing. I had reached a point where I didn't believe myself. I had, again, bought into the fear of not being able to succeed, a fear of not being able to make it, a fear that no one would read my writing or want to read my writing. But I've always had a couple of people in my life who have encouraged me, who would remind me that, Marcus, you can do whatever you wanted to do. And I often think of Heather Ann Gillis and Myrtle Gillis as being two of those people, two of my champions. And so as I kept writing, I would say to myself, we've got to try. So I would submit, reject, submit, reject, submit, reject. And on it went. Until one day in 2003, I opened up my email and I have a letter from a publisher saying, we'd love to publish your essay. These are the changes we'd suggest. Take a crack, come back to us, and let's revisit and review. And the editor made great points. I made as many as the corrections that I was comfortable with. And my first essay on being black was published in 2003. And from there was like that sort of ripple effect. I had more short stories, more poems, more essays published over the years. And in 2011, my first book, A Freestyle Love, was published by an American publisher. And that is a story for another day. And then since then, I've gone on to self-publish 2 more books, and I am at work on a third. And that just shows you that we all have a path. We are all on a journey, and no one path, no one journey is the same. I am not a best-selling author yet, but I am a writer. Writing is who I am. It is what brings me alive each day. It is the first thing that I do. Without writing in my life, I'd probably be still in a depressive state. Writing is, kind of my mojo. It what keeps me going day in and day out. And I'm not giving up on being a best-selling writer. But I am going to write what I love to write about. I am not writing for the market. I am not writing to fit neatly within a genre. I'm writing to tell the stories that I want to hear. I'm writing to tell the stories that I don't see out there. And I'm doing that because I will not compromise my truth. Because I believe that's when my writing will suffer. And my motivation will decrease. And I'll be stepping out of character. So you can see from my journey that it has had its ups and downs. It has had its detours, its roadblocks. There have been setbacks. But something has stayed with me from my days at Carleton University, and that was my first year at university when I went to Carleton. and my English class. And I remember the big blue tome of poems we were going to read, or not all of it, but several of the authors who were in there. And one that has always stayed with me, that always encourages me, is Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. And it's at the very end when Frost writes, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." It's because I wouldn't change this journey. This journey has helped me to grow. This journey has helped me to face down the fear, to stare down the doubt, and tell it that you will not have dominion over me, that I will succeed, that I will champion what I am doing, that I will be of service. It is who I am. And I can't change that, and nor do I want to. You know, this is my path, this is my journey, and I will see it through. I want to leave you with this one thought by Benjamin Disraeli. And he tells us, "I have brought myself, by long meditation, to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will which will stake even existence upon its fulfillment. So go out and do what you want to do. Do what you love, follow your heart's desire, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't. Don't let anyone stand in the way. Go out and make your dreams come true." Thanks again for joining me on today's podcast. I hope you are each day making your dreams come true, doing what is in your heart. And if you have setbacks, if you come to a roadblock, plow through them. Do not give up. Do not let fear and doubt hold you back. You know, if you enjoyed this episode, I please encourage you to share it on social media. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. And you can contact me via email at marcus@marcuslopes.ca. Thanks so much again for joining me, and we'll see you next week.